Hello and welcome back to the channel. You join us here, me and Red Dead Panda. Say hello, Red Dead Panda.
Hi, Elite Gaming Guru. Welcome to the Gamers Initiative podcast. What episode are we up to?
Episode 19, I think.
18, 19.
19.
I think we're up to 18, aren't we?
I don't know. Could be 18.
I don't know, guys.
I don't know. I'll
Tell
know
us in the
once I
chat.
upload it. When I upload it, yeah, I'll know. I'm pretty sure it could be 18. Episode 18. So we're here at episode 18.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us again. We appreciate all your comments and your likes and your subscriptions to both our channels. Very much appreciated. So how are you doing? What are you playing, Red? Oh, where can we find you? Actually, where can we find you first? Where can we find you?
Nowhere and everywhere. No. You can find me on Twitter at REDDEADPANDA1, and that's actually the number 1. So I've been a bit slack because I have been off for my birthday and stuff. So I've been on Twitter a little bit, but I haven't been overly active. You can find me on Xbox Live at REDDEADPANDA871, and then you can also find me on YouTube at REDDEADPANDA Gaming, and I will one day sort my life out. But extremely busy at the moment, so I'm just doing this podcast at the moment because I have time for that right now. What about yourself, Elite? Where can we find you?
Actually, I'm going to look up my... Did I say it last time? So you can find me here, as always, but I'm on Twitter, creating a stir. Let me find it.
Do you want me to find it for you?
It's my Twitter handle is... it's Gamers Initiative 1. Just spell it out. It's at GAMERS capital INITIATI 1. It's a random one they made. It's very complex. I'll put it in the comments. I think that'd be best. It's just very random.
Yeah. And we will be having a new image for our background, which should mean
so I'm just like a celeb.
And then, Elite, are you going to put the Discord channel in your comments as well, or in the...
Oh yeah, I should do that. Yeah, because you want more people in there. Yeah, you want more people in the channel. I'll put that into. Well, maybe we should post that onto the Twitter as well. Actually, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Once I get my photo up, we'll start. Yeah, so we want more into a Discord channel actually. So yes, please remind us to put that in there, and please join us. We've got a little group going on. There's more and more. It's slowly building up, and we'll just talk games and stuff. So we want more people in there. That'd be great. Yeah. So should we just get onto our topics? Oh no, what games you in, man?
I have just tried Sea of Solitude. Like, I'm still playing it. So that's through Game Pass, and it's through EA Play, which is on Game Pass.
Yep.
That's actually quite interesting. It's a bit dark, like I mean dark, like not like scary dark, like or horror-y dark, but like it focuses on like mental health type stuff. So
kind of like Hellblade.
I've been enjoying that. It's a little indie game. I saw it years ago and I wanted to play it, and I was like, I won't remember to play it, but because it's on Game Pass, bam, playing it now. And then I am downloading Death's Door to give that a go, which we're actually going to talk about later on today.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't. What have I been playing anything else? Oh, I've been playing Diablo 3. I always play Diablo 3. It's like one of my go-to games.
That's not the one on Game Pass, is it? Or on Xbox?
No, it's not on Game Pass. Nope. I say that. Blizzard.
Now,
they're in a bit of trouble.
What are you going to do now? Because you love Diablo, and now Blizzard have...
Well, I already boycott COD every year anyway, guys. Yeah. So it's not... but yeah, that's a bit of a hard one to swallow. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do. But yeah, what have you been playing there, Elite?
I've been playing the usual sort of Shinobi, Striker, and what's that?
Conan.
I haven't played Conan for a while. I've sort of retired from that for a bit. I've been playing Apex Legends, MechWarrior 5. I did try another game. I downloaded some games. I can't remember what I downloaded now. I didn't like them. And I downloaded Yakuza 7, I think it was. So I'm going to start playing that. Yeah, so I'm going to start playing that. I downloaded a couple of games of Game Pass, and I can't remember the other one I played. I didn't like it.
Well, it was mine and my twin's birthday the other week. That's why we weren't here last week for a podcast. I was away celebrating our birthday together. And she was nice enough, and she got me she got me Skyward Sword for my birthday, so
Oh,
I will be playing that. And I also, while it was my birthday, my what is it? Mass Effect Legendary Cash Edition arrived, so I've got this gigantic Mass Effect helmet.
no.
um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was pretty good. I'm happy with all my birthday stuff. I got the full Witcher book series as well, like
Oh, right.
so I will be reading that.
All that. And they got the new
Yeah.
series coming on soon. Series 2 on Netflix.
Yes, can't wait.
So,
Yeah.
so should we start? Should we get into our topics?
Yeah. What's our first topic? What have we got?
Our first topic is...
Is this the John Linneman post about the Series S?
Oh,
Is
yes.
that the one?
Yeah, go on then. You start the ball on that one, yeah.
Alright, I'll bring up the post. Where did I put
I'm
it?
just going to say, yeah, while you bring up the post, just because I actually just ordered 2 Series S's. I can't get my hands in the UK on a Series X. So, and I've waited, obviously, since November. Given up, so I bought 2. So we've got, my son's got one and I'm going to have one. So, and then I'll play with those until I can get hold of a Series X. But, you know.
Enjoy. You're in for a treat. It's not the same like level of fidelity
Exactly.
around
Oh, yeah, I
the
get
4K
that, yeah.
on the One X, but it doesn't matter. Like the speed,
Yeah.
everything. It's definitely a step up. You're definitely going to notice a difference.
And it'll allow
I
me
have
to
a
play next gen games, more importantly.
yeah. I have a Series S and I love it. It sits up in my lounge and I just play games up there when I can. But my X is downstairs in my like office/gaming room.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, let's talk about this anyway. So John Linneman from Digital Foundry put a post up, and he said, "Stopped by MediaMarkt for the first time since the new consoles launched. Not a single Series X or PS5 to be found, but they did have a lot of Series S units with multiple aisles like this above that boxed PC game. So what? Hopefully, Elite, you can pop up in the recording when you edit this and it goes live on your channel, an image of the tweet and what he showed. So basically with this one, he is talking about how easy it is to get access to a Series S, and a lot of people have taken that as a huge L for Xbox, saying no one wants this console and it's a giant flop. Considering you were able to get your hands on 2 of them so easily, Elite, it must be a flop, right? What do you think? What's your thoughts on this post? I thought this was just triggering because we all know he loves PlayStation.
Yeah. That's the first point is one. Why is he? He's part of Digital Foundry. They're meant to just sort of compare or go through the sort of the quality of games and stuff like review games. So why he's just doing this? He's clearly just jumping on the bandwagon. The console war bandwagon here. Secondly, isn't he the one that recently done the video about Ratchet and Clank and trying to convince people that 40 FPS is the next best thing? I think someone put that on Twitter recently. Did you see that?
Probably.
Yeah,
I tried to watch that video and it bored me to death. It was not the first, but it's probably one of the most boring Digital Foundry videos I've ever watched.
He's trying to actually tell people that the future is 40 FPS, which is like, that's why people on Xbox gamers are going, what the hell? Come on, man. Just what are you doing here? It's ridiculous. But this, I think the point I made, because I see this on Twitter, and I actually commented on it and said, I think people are missing the point here, as people are saying it's not a failure for Xbox. Xbox purposely done this. As he stated, Xbox Series X's are sold out, PS5s are sold out. I think Xbox planned this, knowing that they're going to have issues with both the consoles. So they've released a lesser SKU, a smaller SKU, which they can just churn out, which they are. They're just throwing them out there. And people that can't get older, like myself, can't get older about Xbox Series X, are just snapping these up. And this is why, and to just completely debunk his point, Xbox One MPD. Well, it made more money than MPD. And before you say, but everyone's buying Series S's, well, then that completely debunks your point then, doesn't it? And so you'd have to buy 2 Series S's to equivalent of 1 PS5. So that means they're outselling. You could say the Series S's are outselling PS5 2 to 1, because you could say that. So so I think he's triggering. It sort of backfired him massively. He's lost the point, the narrative there with that one. I don't think he thought it through what he was saying.
I agree with you. He didn't
Especially
think.
MPT
I mean,
completely sort of completely demolishing his point.
yeah. Well, I think he says he hates the little console war and the people who come out of their little holes and harass him on Twitter, and he literally just opens himself up for it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like, I think this was really stupid to the point where if we look at what's happening, so everyone wants a PS5, right?
Yeah.
Yep, fair enough. They can't make them fast enough. They can't make Xbox Series X's fast enough either.
No.
So everyone wants a Series X, and part of the reason why you can't make a Series X fast enough and it's not available is because Xbox was actually upgrading their server racks. How many times do we have to say this? So that meant they were being upgraded with Series X hardware, which means that there was less hardware available for the consumer. And because these are a lower SKU and they're smaller and compact and probably actually easy, quite easy enough to manufacture, they didn't want to hold people back from getting onto next gen. And it's just like how last gen went. If you look at both the PlayStation and the Xbox, when there is a slim variant, it tends to do well, especially if you're looking at using it as a companion console. People who have a PlayStation and might want to try Xbox Game Pass, easy enough to have this available on hand at all times and play that game. I mean, play that console. People who have a PC and might not have a very powerful one, or they don't have Game Pass and they can just pick that up. Who knows? Or if you want something for your kids and you don't want to spend a lot of money on them, and you're just upgrading them to next gen, this is a really great entry level console and unit into it. So it being available is actually a really good sign that they're looking after a particular part of the consumer market that this is marketed towards. So for people to call this an L and say it's a flop, being ridiculous and stupid,
planning on Xbox by Xbox. That's what it was. Just clever forward planning by Xbox. Because as I said to you at the beginning, I bought 2 Xbox. I was holding out since November for Xbox Series X. Can't get one.
Yep.
So I bought 2 Series S's. There we go. So
I think you're getting.
So that sort of debunks his whole point. People, you can't, because I want to step up into next gen, and I could either just keep holding on for an Xbox Series X, or I could buy a Series S, and that's what I've done. And I bought 2, so it sort of deflates his whole point about no they're not popular. Well, no, they can churn these things out. They're stacking the shelves of them because people that want to step into next gen can't get hold of a PS5 or Xbox Series X, so they're buying Xbox Slims, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And that's why they won last. That's why they won June's MPD, despite in the same month PS5 dropping the biggest first for party next gen franchise, Ratchet and Clank. They released Ratchet and Clank in the same month. Xbox Series X makes more, outsells it. So what's that say? Yeah. So he's a fool.
Who knows?
He should get off the bandwagon. He's just gonna go down in flames.
I mean, if he wanted to be smart about how he put this post out, he should have framed it as a positive.
Yeah.
Yes, there's not a single Series X or PS5 because there is a specific part of our community, which are the hardcore gamers that don't want a PC but want the muscle power behind the console to get the best fidelity they can out of their games.
Yeah.
To get their money's worth. So he could have framed this a lot differently. I think it's a positive that it's very easy for people to actually pick up because there is that shortage. I think Series X's are going to be show up more in the wild now because of, like I said, they've upgraded the server X to the Series X variant, so hardware. So we should start seeing more Series X's out there because they are extremely hard to get a hold of. And people who are saying no one's buying an Xbox, people are buying Xboxes as soon as they can get hold of them. People are buying PS5s as soon as they can get hold of them. But like I was, where was I? I was at EB Games the other day, and the guy at the counter was talking about how they get PlayStation 5s in every few weeks, and they only get Series X's in every few months. But they get Series S's in a lot more often. Yeah. So when I picked up my Series S, I didn't have any trouble finding one as soon as a new lot released. But it didn't last long. They would be gone within a couple of hours. Yeah. But it was still much easier than finding a Series X. And there is a part of the market which are people are picking it up as a great companion device. I picked it up as a companion device to my Series X because I live in a 2-story house, and sometimes I want to go upstairs and play video games and not be as antisocial as I usually am, and play downstairs by myself. And it was just really, really cool way to do that. So yeah, I think it's stupid. I'm just pissed off with how dumb our community, how dumb part of our community is.
2 other points I just want to hit on as well, which he didn't highlight. One, he didn't mention the PlayStation 5 digital.
That console doesn't exist. It's only in our dreams.
Exactly. Yeah, he didn't mention that, or didn't talk anything about that. He skipped over that. He didn't show them for the shelves. Them on the shelves. Also, the fact that the Slim's doing well, why does I say not doing well? I think he's sort of debunked by the fact that Sony have already talked about making a slimmer version of the PS5, have they not? A toned down, weaker version, well, basically a slim, haven't they? They already started talking about doing that. They said a lighter version. I don't know what that is implying, but they've already.
A one that weighs less.
Yeah, which we know it's not just going to be. That's not the reason, the fundamental reason. There's no reason. This is just that's got to be the most ridiculous. Oh no, we're making a new console just so it weighs less. No other reason, though. You're not going to make it like because the PS5's full of problems. Like it's still not got a thingy port, is it? Sorry, an external drive, is it? Or I think was it still missing the
expansions? It's got the expansion slot. It's just not not available to use.
No, but why?
Well, they did say they were going to have more news on it summer. But they didn't say which summer.
Yeah,
so we could hear it summer in 2023 or 2024. Or I'm being facetious, guys. Don't hold it against me. But yeah.
And this is a thing that everyone jumped on Xbox about. Remember when they've announced theirs? They said, "Oh, it's overpriced. That's too expensive." And isn't that the same thing? And PlayStation's still not got one yet.
I guarantee you that when the PlayStation announces the that this is available to use, that the
Xbox One will drop in price. The
SSD. Oh, I don't think it will because I know that there's. If you just look at the market for SSDs, it's probably not going to drop in price for a while at the moment. But I guarantee you, when they announce the list of the compatible SSDs for the PS5, people are going to just eat their own words on. Oh, the Series X one was expensive. At least the Series X has one.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Series S has one as well. Yeah. There's an option available to you at launch from day dot. You don't know when you're going to find out about the expansion slot on the PS5. You don't know if you've already bought an M.2 drive, if it will even fit in it. We don't even know how effective the cooling is in that console for that slot because it doesn't look like there is cooling running along that particular part of the unit.
Yeah. But the whole making a console, the amount of production and money they're going to throw into a new console just to make it lighter, it's not just to make it lighter. They're tweaking a lot of issues. I think that's wrong with it.
Which
I think is a bit being hidden at the moment. But I think there's a lot more issues which are hidden.
They revised the stand screw slot thing, so they revised that, so you don't actually have to use a tool to unscrew it. From my understanding. It should be one that you can just use your fingers with. From my understanding, that's my understanding of what they would be revising there. Yeah.
I reckon there'll be loads. When it comes out, and hopefully someone will neutral check them out and do a comparison. I reckon there'll be a lot more than just the weight that's changing it. I reckon there'll be things like the temperature in it. Or maybe even surprised the new one's more powerful. And if it is, at that moment, that will just kill the internet. Because that means it will be it will be a mid-gen refresh, basically.
They won't do that.
Oh,
hey. Hi. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
My power
came back on?
The power finally came back on. Sorry, guys.
You're
such
all
an
good.
Inconvenience. I truly apologize.
Sorry. We were meant to have a guest and he had his power out and he's back in now. So introduce yourself, please.
Yes, this is Dirt Grittity from the We Bleed Green podcast on my channel on Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I felt so terrible. It was literally 15 minutes before the show and power just blew. It's not a storm here. We just went out And this has happened a couple times just in the last month. It's pissing me off really. But thanks for having me, guys.
No, it's great to have you. So we were just getting a catch up on where we was. We were just basically talking about the John Linneman's post on Twitter about the Serious Slims.
Yes.
So we've sort of done that to death. What's your take on it?
Well, I actually did a video about this topic earlier. It's funny to me because for him to for him to post that picture, I feel that he obviously knows that's going to fuel some fanboy banter, right? He knows that's going to be something that PlayStation fanboys are going to run with.
Yeah.
So when he posted that picture, it made me say, okay, so that particular store, wherever he is, I'm not sure what part of the world he's in. Yes, there's tons of Xbox Series S's available, but if you think about every console generation, the people that usually buy the consoles at the beginning of every console generation is usually the hardcore gamers, such as us. We are the hardcore gamers. We want the consoles as soon as they drop, if they're, if we can get them, if like we can find them available. And it baffles me that so many people, I was reading the comments up under the picture, Xbox Series S was a mistake, it's flopping. I'm like, do these people know it's 9 months until this generation?
Yeah.
And most of the time, the casuals really don't upgrade their previous platform until maybe it's a price drop or it's a slim model. They never upgrade within the first couple of years of a new generation. And in my opinion, the Xbox Series S is that casual box, for the people that don't really care about 4K, maybe the people that want a Xbox as their second console. And like I said, maybe that parent that just buys their kid a Xbox for Christmas. Hey, here's a $300 Xbox, or here's a $500 Xbox. I think I'm going to get them this $300 Xbox. And the kids are not going to care because it is a next generation console. So to say that the Xbox Series S is a flop 9 months into the generation is absolutely ridiculous, especially if you base it off of one guy's post on Twitter in one particular store. So I thought he was pretty much fueling the console war with that picture, which I'm not surprised about, but I was
just saying, his whole point was debunked by Xbox winning NPD.
Absolutely.
So it's just like it's a flop. It's just got no leg to stand on, really. Also, I think he's from the UK, isn't he? Same as me. I think he's from England. So
yes,
but
he lives in Cologne, right, in Germany.
I think he lives there, but I believe he's American, but he lives there. Like someone said, he lives in Germany. I'm not sure.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, he lives in Cologne, Germany. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because as it is here in probably Europe, Xbox Series, I can't get an Xbox Series X, so I've bought 2 Xbox Slims until I can get a Series X, and that's what I think that's sort of the market that Xbox was reaching at. They realised that people weren't going to be able to get Xbox Slims. Sony know that people couldn't get PS5s, but they didn't care because they'd not got a slimmer version basically. But Xbox knew they couldn't get the Xbox Series X's out, the manufacturing and stuff. So they threw out a smaller SKU, and the Xbox Series Slims are actually £250 in the UK, £250. So I can get two for the price of one Xbox Series X. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yeah. So, and that's probably why they're just throwing them on the shelves, because people are going to walk in. If you want to get into next gen, it only costs £250 just to get next gen. Yes.
Well, welcome to Next Gen Elite.
And if you compare it to previous gens, imagine like the Xbox One released at £250. That would be, that's really cheap for a next gen device to jump into next gen. £250. That's madness.
Absolutely, man.
I think for a certain part of that community, anything that they can do to kind of take away from Xbox positivity, they're going to take it. Any chance they can, because they are currently just hearing some positive news about PlayStation and then completely like the next day being undercut with like negative PlayStation news. So they're not getting what they got last generation, which was just positivity. So they're kind of feeling the sting that Xbox got, and they don't like it. So they're just lashing out any chance they can, and I think it's ridiculous.
Which takes us right into our next points. Right, so I don't know if you can see is it Griggity? Griggity?
Yes, just
Yes,
a
right.
Griggity. Yeah, Dirk Griggity.
We wanted to get your. Yeah, we was trying to get your name right earlier. So this takes us nice into next point, which I don't think you can. Can
I popped it in the chat so everyone can
right.
see it.
So, which takes us on to taking on the negativity of Xbox. Now they're trying to downplay it. The basically Microsoft Flight Sim, Death Store, and Psychonauts 2 are just all being trashed by PlayStation games at the moment. Especially Psychonauts 2, which is being compared against the AAA title. Do you want to leave with this then, Griggity?
Absolutely, man.
Yeah. You just recently done a video on that, didn't you? Psychonauts.
Yeah. I did
that,
because it was crazy to me that some people are comparing Psychonauts 2 to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Why that's foolish to me? Let me explain. We all know, like you said, Red Dead Panda, the narrative is kind of changing right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of positivity, regarding the Xbox brand, which really wasn't around last generation. Let's be honest, especially early in the generation. So there's a lot of positivity. Now they're trying to find any type of narrative they can run with. So Psychonauts 2, which was obviously a game that was originally a Kickstarter game, right?
Yeah.
They had to take bosses out of the game because they didn't have the funding.
Yeah.
They were able to put everything back in the game that they originally wanted when Xbox purchased them. So this was, like I said, a Kickstarter game. Double Fine, who's a great studio, but they're only a 65 person studio.
Yeah.
Small studio. They usually did AA games. So the PlayStation fanboys are comparing Ratchet and Clank, which is of course a PS5 only game, while Psychonauts 2 is a cross-generation game.
Yeah.
Insomniac obviously is a huge AAA development team. So for those guys to compare these two games, I think is absolutely absurd. Yeah. Now, Psychonauts 2 looks incredible to me, right? Yeah. But it is a game, like I mentioned, that was originally a Kickstarter game. Right? Not a huge franchise like Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank looks incredible also, but it's a PS5 only game with ray tracing and things like that. And Insomniac, who is a 250 plus people team. So I think it's absolutely crazy to compare the two games. Yes, I know they're kind of platformers or kiddie games or whatever you want to say, but I hate that they're doing that. And the only reason they're doing that is because Double Fine is an Xbox owned studio. Yeah. Point blank.
Yeah, I don't think we would have had the negativity if it wasn't. But then saying that, they're downplaying Death's Door as well, which Xbox doesn't own, and they seem to be really attacking that at the moment. So is it anything to do because Xbox owned, or is it just because it's exclusive to Xbox, do you think? Well, no, Psychonauts is not even exclusive, but Death's Door is. Do you think they're just attacking, which is a shame because it's a small indie title, and they're just attacking it and being horrible to that as well, like downplaying that and saying it looks trash, it looks rubbish.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is because it's exclusive to Xbox. I'm sure it's probably a timed exclusive.
Yeah.
It's not in Game Pass, but because it's a timed exclusive for Xbox and it's getting rave reviews from the media and also the community, those guys don't like anything positive with Xbox. Even though this is not an Xbox game, but because it's an Xbox exclusive, and like I'm assuming a timed exclusive, they don't want to hear anything positive by Xbox.
I think they get threatened by the meta of the scores as well, because I like to compare meta, and I think when they get a game that's exclusive to Xbox and the meta score of it is threatening Xbox titles, I think they tend to get the better. Because what I'm seeing on Twitter at the moment is that also, what we were going to talk about, Microsoft Flight Sim is being massively downplayed as well. It's just a flight simulator. And then when people are bringing up the score of Flight Simulator, which is, I think it's saying like 92, the PS fanboys then quote the user score, which I think's only 7 or something like that, 7 or 8. So they're saying
the user
score. Yeah, so you go back to the user score now. But then when people go, but the user score of Last of Us 2 was only like 5.7.
I saw that tweet. I saw that.
And then they're like, but that's last gen, so it doesn't count. So, you got to, they just switch the narrative and just keep moving the goalposts just to fit the narrative. It's awful to see. But I mean, I was saying to one of the guys on Twitter, there's a few of us debating this guy on Twitter. He says he doesn't get the hype behind Flight Simulator. All you're doing is flying a plane around. And I said, I don't get the hype behind Gran Turismo. All you're doing is driving a car. And his response
It's
was,
Stranding.
yeah, all you're doing is delivering parcels. His response was, yeah, but flying a plane doesn't make you a pilot, but driving a car makes me a racer.
Wow.
And, yeah, and we was like, wow, really? I said, how are you 5? I said, another guy said, are you backwards or something? And then he just got slaughtered. Because that's what a weird thing to say. That
Put him in a
Such a
car and
weird
see if
thing
he
to
can drive that car the way he drives it
that's what someone
GT,
said. Yeah,
and he'll probably die.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
it's
funny.
just really weird. They're just weirdly downplaying flight sim, or just sims in general, because they've not got them. Basically, that is the fundamental reason. So,
Yeah.
what you got to say, Red?
It really frustrates me. Like Microsoft Flight Simulator, they're coming up with anything that they can to trash it. So there's the screenshot showing it offline versus online, and I think for it to have a version of both, I think is quite astonishing that Asobo Studios did this, and the fact that this game is even running on console is quite astonishing as well. But they're like, oh, it's got lots of pop-ins, it's either super boring, it's not even a real game because it's a simulator. It is a type of game, it's just a simulation game, guys. Look at the definition of it. People complaining about its frame rate, and if you don't want to play it, don't play it. Don't trash a game that people love. It was huge on PC, and it's going to be huge on Xbox. And if you want to play it, play it. But devs put a hell of a lot of time into this game, so just support the developers. That's a big thing that PlayStation fans have been complaining about Game Pass for, is the fact that it's not supporting the developers because you're not paying for the game. It will support the developers by playing their game. That's the whole point. Regardless of how you pay to play the game, support the developers. I mean, Death's Door being an indie game, and it's getting trashed because it's not available for a certain part of the community. Who cares? You have been living with PlayStation exclusives for years, and now you're being left out. You want to throw your toys out of your crib and have a little cry? Get over it. Now you know what it was like being on the other side of it for once. Grow up. It just annoys the hell out of me that this is the talking point from them.
Yeah.
I think the fact, like, even with the Psychonauts one, where they're comparing the game to a AAA studio, like you said there, you can't compare them. Their art style, the gameplay, even that one where they showed the Rugrats version on Twitter. There was that post where there was the Rugrats version, and then the Psychonauts game. I thought that was stupid that they were even doing a comparison like that. I mean, you can definitely see that the improvement from the first Psychonauts game to the sequel, and people are just complaining about the visuals, the art style. It's stylized, and it is a sequel to a game that came out on the OG Xbox.
Right. 2005.
Like, what is wrong with people? I really don't get it. And then they're complaining about the fact that the PS5 version, which is running through backwards compatibility, isn't made. There isn't a PS5 like optimized version. Xbox has done what they did, and it's a conspiracy. There was only a contract in place for them to offer a version for the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, and the fact that it's running backwards compatible on the PS5, that's actually I think that's a win for you guys, that your console can run that backwards compatible. Yes, it's Microsoft first party now, so they have a Series S and Series X optimized version because they own the IP.
Absolutely.
And for, like, I'm actually just happy that Xbox even agreed to continue on with all those contracts, those third-party contracts and everything like that. They've done exactly what they said they were going to do, and if there was anything existing that was coming out on another console or another system, they were going to continue doing that. Yeah. They weren't going to cut you off at the knees and say, no, we now own it, you can't play it ever.
I've got a friend that solely
I
wants to
don't
play the game because of Tenacious D, because of Jack Black singing in it.
Right.
So he's slowly buying the game and wants to play it just for that because he loves him. Personally, I don't really like Jack Black's music, but he's buying it just for that, just listen to the music because it's got apparently a really fantastic music score to it as well.
I'm gonna play,
and that's
the game.
awesome.
Yeah.
And let me say this, guys. You know, the thing is, the the narrative constantly moves, it changes. I don't know how long you guys have been around in this community. Now, I have seen you, Elite. I have seen you for at least 3 or 4 years around. So, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I've seen you, because I definitely seen you before. And so the way they're acting now is, I really feel they're just running out of narratives. Like Red said, they're like, why are you comparing Ratchet and Clank from a AAA studio to Psychonauts, which is, like I mentioned earlier, a Kickstarter game? Mm-hmm. Yes, they're a Microsoft-owned studio now, but they're still a small studio. And it's this, they don't know what to say anymore. Now the Xbox has no games narrative. That narrative is slowly but surely about to be dead. Done. I mean, starting this fall, that narrative is going to be dead. Yeah, if you want to be honest. Yeah, but I'm talking about more about the first party games, because that's usually what they're talking about, the first party games. With Halo Infinite, well, actually Psychonauts, Halo Infinite, Forza Horizon, once these games start to release, they're not going to stop. Nah. We all know how many games they have announced. They actually showed a roadmap, with some of us Xbox guys have been begging for Xbox to show a roadmap, and they never did before because, let's be honest, they didn't really have much in development, right? Now that they do, we have a roadmap. They have announced all of these next-gen only games. If you think about it, with the exception of Halo Infinite and Forza Horizon 5, all of the other games they announced are next-gen only. Right, so people don't talk about that a lot, but that's the truth. So they're running out of narratives. Elite, like you mentioned something about Metacritic score. Yes, they will try to, like, once the Xbox has no games narrative is officially dead, then they'll try to say, well, Xbox doesn't have any Game of the Year nominees, or Xbox doesn't have any games with a 92 Metacritic score. So I guarantee that's what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, Psychonauts 2, I believe, is going to be a great game. I'm not sure if you guys played part 1, but Double Fine, I thought, was a great pickup. They're really talented. They're original. And I can't wait to see what they do with a fully funded Xbox game. You know, just with their vision. So,
well, I mean, I never played the original, but it's on Game Pass, so I downloaded it. I've started playing it, and I think we're very 100%. The biggest thing is that you can't compare these two titles. Ratchet and Clank was made solely for the PlayStation 5.
Yep.
Right, and Psychonauts 2 was made for multiple consoles. So their development, and the fact they've got 65 people developing that game for more than one console and more than one SKU of a console is actually, like, they deserve a round of applause for that. Yeah, I feel like they're just being overlooked for the fact that they were an indie, and now that they're under Xbox's umbrella, it's like they don't get a free pass anymore from that part of the community. It's just any time that they can throw daggers, they will. And it's like none of them use their brains or understand what logic is. Because if they actually look into what they're saying and how ridiculous it sounds, they would shut the hell up. No, they won't, but I wish they would. Yeah, I've been, I guess, vocal in the community for about a year now. Just to let you know, but I've been amongst the community, like, following along what's happening, because I've been officially Xbox properly since 2009, but I did play the original Fable on the OG Xbox. My older sister had, her boyfriend had the console, and that's what got me into Xbox. Prior to that, I was solely a Nintendo fan. But yeah, so I think it's interesting, and you're talking about how Xbox is now showing a roadmap. Even when they didn't have a lot of things in development, they still showed up to things, whether it was indie games they were showing. Like, They didn't
Right,
pull out of
yeah.
E3, guys.
That's a
Who's
fact,
being-
Red.
Who's
That's a
being
fact.
quiet because they have nothing? And I feel like that the PlayStation community have got FOMO, fear of missing out, because that's what I feel like they've got. They are so dry on the games. They see the floodgates opening on Xbox, and they're threatened by it because in their mind, their plastic box should win every single generation, regardless of what anyone else does, and it's threatened by what Xbox is doing on the PC side, on the cloud side, on the handheld gaming side, on the console front. Like, they're getting hit from all sides and they feel very threatened, so they're lashing out.
I think the worst case of hypocrisy, which really annoys me as well, is the support developers. All they do is preach supporting developers. We support developers because we're paying £70 for our games, which is ludicrous. Okay, I know. Yeah, and you don't support developers on the Xbox side, but then they're the first ones to trash and hate on developers when games come out for the Xbox or games they don't like. Even the multiplat games. If a multiplat game comes out, which is not Xbox or PlayStation exclusive, just a multiplat, they're the first ones to trash them. And then you get these scenarios where a PlayStation game comes out and it's delayed or there's something wrong with it, and then they will trash their own developers, and it's just weird. Or remember that time they trashed Alana Pierce, that's like works for Santa Monica, and they all destroyed her and had to go at her, and she's like works for Santa Monica, and it's just weird that they're quite happy to trash and have a go and hate on any developer while preaching about supporting developers, and it's the absolute hypocrisy. Makes me go mental.
I think you look at the that whole, what's that saying, where something like an animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own foot or something.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like they're doing right now. They're caught in a trap. They don't care who is in the crosshairs. If they feel like they're being shorthanded or something like that, they're just going to take it out on anyone that they can. But the funny thing is like, they don't ask for better. They don't ask to be treated with respect by PlayStation. Whereas Xbox, I feel like, yes, they are, and these guys are both companies, they have to make a profit and everything like that, but at least one company is actually being listening and taking on feedback from their community, because how do you make your community strong and keep them coming back every single day to play games, to buy stuff, to just engage and have fun? You do it by making sure that you create the changes they want to see. Mm-hmm. And PlayStation's not doing that. And the fact that one of the biggest things was Xbox has no games, and that narrative is dried up and definitely done to death after next week. Once Flight Sim comes out next week.
We've got Ascent as well.
Coming out. Everything's coming out. 12 minutes. Like, it's never going to end.
No.
I just can't talk about how frustrated I am by them. They should be asking for more. They should be asking for PlayStation to tell them their roadmap. All they know that is coming in the future is God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West, GT 7.
That's it.
And then what's that other? And a whole heap of other smaller
that's
titles.
their only first party.
They don't know anything else.
Yeah, first party, those three, as far as first party goes, those three games was it. They have some time exclusives, like Forspoken and Final Fantasy 16, but first party, that's it right there.
And director's cuts.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Can't forget those director's cuts.
What an awful business that is.
Director's cuts.
You just selling director's cuts as new games.
Yeah.
And then what's worse is that they support them and they defend it. Yeah, we want this game. We want to play this game. This game came out a year ago. Ghost of Tsushima came out last year, and you want a director's cut version of it, a remastered version. It's just awful. It's just lazy and awful. And Sony keep quiet. No, they keep quiet and keep back. They just sort of fade into the shadows and go, "Oh yeah, just have it, you morons." And they're like, "Yeah," and just lap it up, and it's just mental. It's just horrible to see. It's just, I think they're just going to end themselves. If Sony dies off, it will be the fault of their own fan base, I think.
Absolutely.
Sorry. They believe in generations of generationally charging their customers for every game.
Yeah.
Ooh. Hey, you guys know I love this type of banter, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever listened to my podcast, but we, I try not to make it, I'm not trying to be that pro Xbox podcast that talks about PlayStation a lot, because in reality, I do like the PlayStation brand. I really do, but I'm not that fond of the PlayStation fanboys, because like we're talking about it now. There's a lot of things they do I just really don't like. I tried to be, it was one point when I first started YouTube, I tried to be cool with some of them, and I just couldn't. I mean,
hard,
I just can't. It's too difficult, because some of the things they say, they can be disrespectful, and I say, you know what, I can't be that cool with some of these guys. But everything you two are saying, you're hitting the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
Right on the head. Xbox, what they're doing, the transparency, they're telling us everything. Listen, last year, early 2020, they said, yo, we're going to have some games that's cross-gen for the first couple of years.
Yeah.
And us Xbox people, okay, well, thanks for letting us know. Yeah. PlayStation guys, you guys are going to they're going to hold next generation back, blah, blah, blah. The whole time Sony was doing the exact same thing, and they lied to those people, saying we believe in generations. Red, like you mentioned, we believe in generations. Yeah. And Xbox, their executives actually communicate with the community. I mean, they actually talk to the community. They talk to us. They tweeted us. Aaron Greenberg, Tim Dog was on my show a few weeks ago, and he told a great Aaron Greenberg story. And I was like, wow, that's cool. That an executive at Microsoft, at Xbox, is actually spending time with the gamers, just spending time having personal stories and things with these executives. I love to hear things like that. And the Xbox brand, for me, I became an Xbox fan, I would say, around 2002. I was a PlayStation 2 fan like everybody else, right? Just, I love PlayStation. And I played an original Xbox at my friend's house, and about 6 or 7 months later, I was able to get an original Xbox and absolutely fell in love with it. And throughout the years, here I am. I'm still an Xbox fan, and even the Xbox One generation was underwhelming to me as far as the first-party titles, but I still never stopped loving the brand. And the way they're headed now, you can hate on Xbox all you want to, but you cannot deny what they're doing right now. You cannot deny the moves they're making, the roadmap, the future of the brand. And it's only going to get bigger and better. Like I said before, once these games start dropping next month, Red, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop.
I said it in 2020. Xbox is doing the rope-a-dope. They've completely pulled Sony in and wound them up and just been bouncing around, making like they're on the ropes. And then they're going to come out, especially next year, and just start laying punches. And Sony's going to be going back and back and back onto those ropes, because they've got nothing to back themselves up apart from cross-gen games. All they've got is cross-gen games. They've got no first-party next-gen games in the pipeline. None.
Elite, you're absolutely right. Like, okay, look at this. Sucker Punch, they just dropped Ghost of Tsushima last year, and they're dropping the director's cut. So their game is at least a few years off.
Yeah.
Same thing with Naughty Dog. Their game dropped in 2020. Their game is a few years off, because they usually take a long time to make their games anyway. Now they could be working on the faction multiplayer for The Last of Us 2, which I'm sure they're working on that.
You're gonna charge for it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Director's cut. So,
it will be.
But then you think about some of their other first party studios. Returnal, Housemarque, they just bought them. Returnal just dropped earlier this year. They bought Nixxes, who was specifically to port console games to PC. So that's another one in studios. Let's think about what's another one in studios. Guerrilla. We already know that's coming out maybe early next year, maybe this year. We don't know, but that's going to be cross generation. Sony Santa Monica, cross generation. Yeah. Who's left over there?
Yeah.
That's it, right?
All their big.
Well, the first party.
Their big first party. Studios.
They're accounted for.
Yeah, all the
right. They're accounted for. So, Insomniac is probably doing another Spider-Man, right? That's going to take a couple more years. So that's why I think Sony knew this. That's why they signed all of these timed exclusives.
Yeah.
Who's the
Whether it's
studio
Final
that does
Fantasy
Astro
16.
Bot?
Huh? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Who's the studio that does Astrobot? I can't even remember.
Oh,
When I recently,
I don't know.
Recently,
Yeah.
Tencent bought the studio that makes Sackboy, so they've lost that. And then the studio,
Yeah, they did. Right? Yeah, they did.
yeah, and the studio that makes Astrobot. Remember, it's the Japan studio which they closed down. So
Only
instead of-
Japan.
yeah, so they're not going to make
yeah.
Astrobots anymore.
Yeah.
So they've lost
So I'm telling you guys, if you look at it, Sony knew this was going to happen. That's why they had so many timed exclusive deals. They Deathloop, Ghostwire Tokyo. They tried to get Starfield.
Yeah.
They tried their best to get Starfield. Obviously, that didn't happen. Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16. That's why they signed all of these timed exclusives because they knew it was going to be kind of dry this generation.
And going forward, that's all they're going to have. They're going to be throwing their money. They're going to waste all their money on third-party timed exclusives. Meanwhile,
That's exactly it.
Xbox, good business, be churning out first-party games where they will be making 100% of the profit. They'll just be laughing.
Yep.
Plus,
Yeah,
no stupid timed exclusives.
yeah,
And they're all going to be a Game Pass. Ooh, that's going to be amazing.
yeah. Well, we look at just like last gen, and I agree with you there, Griggity, about last generation being underwhelming in regards to first party, because I'm a massive Fable fan, and they did Fable Legends, and it was only in like alpha or beta or something, so you got to play a little bit of it. But there was no Fable game last generation released other than the backwards compatible 360 original Fable.
yeah.
Fable Anniversary. There was nothing, so it was a bit underwhelming. But there was great games that did come out, like Quantum Break. But it was hard. So going through that whole generation, where you could see all those games coming on the PlayStation side, and I'm not a anti PlayStation person. I don't like the controller myself, the layout. It's never been comfortable for me. But yeah, their community is the bit that I really struggle to put up with. Their community is so negative. And like everything that their community threw at Xbox last generation around a narrative, even the media threw at them, like the fact that it was a weaker system, then we got the One X. The fact that there were no games, and then they started buying studios. Then there was the fact that we knew about right at the end of the generation that Xbox was going to be supporting games for cross-generation and we accepted that as a community because we understood why it was being done. There weren't going to be enough consoles right at the beginning of the generation for people to switch over immediately if they wanted to. So allowing a community to come together regardless of the generation you were playing on made you feel whole. And for their community to just come and trash us about it, and then have to pull back and like eat their own words, because then PlayStation came out and announced the same thing, and they looked like they had egg on their face the whole time. Every time something negative came out about the Series X and Series S coming for next generation, they had to walk it back because PlayStation was following suit. The fact that PlayStation is now using Microsoft Azure Studio, Azure servers and such, ready for their cloud infrastructure moving forward. Yeah. You guys they had to pull that back as well, because they were trashing what Xbox was doing in that front. And now we're looking at what PS Now is doing. I think there's like one game like releasing day one on PS Plus. Is it that horrible Hunter's Arena battle, whatever that horrible game was?
Some crap.
It was horrible. Yeah. So it's really interesting. I mean, looking at the fact like they were super excited about next gen games, like GT7 going to be PS5 only, delayed and then announced it as a cross gen title. Spider-Man announced it's a cross gen title, and everyone was just going, what was it? PlayStation has all these next gen only titles at the beginning of the generation. They don't. They really don't. I mean, Demon Souls, that is, yes, on PlayStation 5 only, currently probably coming to PC. However, the game is designed off a game from the PS3 era. So it's not
Right.
really that next gen. It's just had visual upgrades and overhaul there,
Just
and
remaster.
taking advantage of the better
Right.
hardware and the faster SSD.
But it's
There's nothing else to
Red.
it.
Red, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's rumored that Demon Souls will be on the PS4 also.
Yeah.
There's a rumor about that.
Same as Ratchet and
You're
Clank.
fine to cut me off.
Just like Godfall. Like, remember Godfall was that game? Oh, they can only do it on the PS5, and then all of a sudden, yeah, it's coming to PS4. So I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. That's about it. But I think we've done this topic to death. Let's talk about
Gamescom.
PlayStation apparently pulling out of Gamescom. Has it actually been confirmed?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's been confirmed. They're not going to be there. Yeah.
Got him, Griggity,
Yeah,
go for
let
it.
me know about this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you want to lead with this, Griggity?
Yeah. I mean,
You're the
No
guest,
surprise.
so you go
he
for
really
it.
missed.
yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. I mean, we just broke down how they have nothing to show. They're not going to be there. They have these little state of plays focusing on one games, like here and there. Yeah, like I said, I'm not surprised they're not going to be there. Xbox confirmed that they're going to be there. Some more, like most companies are going to be there, but Sony's definitely not. I just think that it's great as an Xbox fan to be able to talk shit like this because we really couldn't last generation. I just think they don't have much to show. They just don't. I think they pretty much showed everything that they have that's far along enough to show. I'm sure they have some other things that they're working on, but it's not ready to be shown. So they have nothing to show. So hey, you know what? We're not going to be there. So
Yes, sorry, I'll just because just rewind because we've been doing this podcast for we're on episode 18 now. So
18, I
which
think.
takes us before the next generation consoles come. And me and Red were talking about on our podcast about getting PS5s. We said this is a good generation. We're getting PS5s. We just need to be sold it. So when they first announced the PS5, we thought, okay, looks a bit crappy, to be honest. It looks horrible. It looks awful. Some issues. We were worried about the issues regarding the heating and the cooling of it, and then the expansion slots, and then a few other issues of it. But then we was looking at the games. For okay, what's the games coming out for it? So they started announcing games, which then quickly become cross-gen, like Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn 2. But it's still a God of War going for it, and Gran Turismo 7. And then when they was announced, also cross-gen, and then they've announced nothing else since. There's been really no reason to buy a PS5. Really no reason to buy it. You might just buy a PS4 Pro. There's been nothing to just push. And this, I think Gamescom putting out that now is a testament to that. They literally have nothing to show. They've talked about, they recently, I think under pressure from Xbox releasing loads of games, they've said, yeah, but we've got 25 games in the works. Remember that? They come out with that sort of quote? We've got
25 games.
You ask anyone, what are those games? They're just 25 first-party studios. Yeah, what are they? Oh, they don't need to reveal them yet. Okay, but why don't they at least reveal one? Tell us one. Why don't they go to Gamescom and just reveal some? Why are they revealing none of them? They've just thrown a number out there just to compete with Xbox, just to sort of take the edge off Xbox. Yeah, we'll work on 25 games. Why wouldn't you announce them? Why wouldn't you tell people who they are? As I said, we're working on God of War, we're working on Horizon Zero Dawn, they're working on those games, which are going to take them up to 22, 23. So, are these 25 games coming then, before that, after? We're not going to see these 25 games till 2024, 25. It's a ridiculous statement, a desperate statement they've made. They pulled out Gamescom because they've got nothing to show, and it's quite embarrassing at this stage. I think it's quite embarrassing. What do you think, Red?
I think that they have tried to emulate what they did with the PS4 success of kind of just like stuffing what they can at the beginning of the generation, where they didn't really have a lot at the beginning of the generation for PS4. I mean, Xbox had more
they did.
at launch.
First
Towards the mid part of the generation, that's when their games really started coming out. And that's what I feel like is happening with the PlayStation 5 this gen. I think that's where we're going to start seeing those games coming out on their side, and they're being very quiet because they're not in any position to talk about it. They can only just generally reference like over 25 titles. Xbox came out and said over 40 titles. We kind of know what those are already.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some studios that haven't announced at all what they're doing. Like, we're waiting to see what Compulsion Games is doing, because I'm really interested in what they're doing now that they're first party. We know so much that is coming out. I can't even think of how many titles there are at all because there are so many that they just keep coming, and I'm like, wow. But I think PlayStation 5 PlayStation wasn't prepared for Xbox to come out like they did, swinging this generation.
Oh my God,
I
no.
thought, yeah, like the fact that they now have Bethesda through the ZeniMax acquisition and all the studios under them, that probably threw them through a loop. Like, you look at how Stadia was like, hey, we're going to be really strong, and then they basically got rid of their first party studios, realizing that they couldn't compete with Xbox.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't get that many studios in one go. If they could get a publisher, they probably would have been set, but they couldn't.
They saw that money. They said, you know what? If we have to spend this type of money, we don't want to be involved in this gaming industry.
Yeah. I spoke about this, was it last week or not last week, sorry, the week before, when we were talking about State of Play and what they showed, and I was really annoyed at PlayStation for not looking after their own community and telling them what's coming and actually like showing up to events. Like, for them to pull out of Gamescom, it's just mind-boggling that they can do that when PlayStation fans that are buying a console, playing your games, have no idea what's coming. They're sick of hearing nothing, that PlayStation is being silent, and you can tell they're sick of it, but they don't want to speak up about it because they don't want to be blacklisted by PlayStation or anything like that if they're a big YouTube channel. It just pisses me off that they're treating their community that badly, that they won't give them an inkling or a breadcrumb as to what is coming in the pipeline for them, to tell them that they made the right choice in purchasing a PlayStation 5 this generation. Yeah. I made the right choice purchasing a Xbox because I knew what was coming. I knew Hellblade was coming. Like, oh my god, Hellblade. Like, in 2019 at the Game Awards, we saw the trailer for Hellblade 2, and I was like, you've got my money right then and there. I don't need to know anything else. I want to play Hellblade 2. Just come out and make PlayStation tell you what's coming. I mean, they're never going to do it, but at least voice your opinion, and then they can realize that they shouldn't just be doing state of plays.
Yeah, which are awful. The last one was terrible. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Even though they tried,
you know what it is, though? You know what it is, though, Red? I think their community, they don't care. They accept everything the PlayStation do.
Yeah.
Some of those guys still feel this is the PS4 generation.
Yep.
Some of these guys still feel this is the Xbox One generation. Like, this is the same Xbox as it was last generation. No, it's not. And this is not the same PlayStation that it was last generation.
No.
Why would Sony remove Yoshida from that position when PlayStation 4 is the most successful console they've ever had? I know the PS2 sold more, but as far as money, PS4 is the most successful console they've ever had, and they demote Yoshida. Yep. That made absolutely no sense to me.
And then Sean Layden was gone.
I don't think it was making the money that
Layden left, and then I don't understand that. So some of these PlayStation fanboys think this is the same PlayStation, and they think this is the same Xbox. If you're paying attention, Xbox is obviously moving way different. They're way more aggressive. They have Microsoft behind them. When last generation, Phil Spencer had to convince them to keep Xbox around.
Yeah.
And some people say how do we know that? Look at what was going on. They stopped developing games. Like you guys just said, the first few years of the generation, Xbox actually had games.
Yeah.
But the second half of the generation, they didn't, because they stopped developing games. For what reason? I think it's pretty obvious. Xbox wasn't investing. Microsoft wasn't investing in Xbox. But here we are now. We're seeing these games about to roll out. But it was a dry spell, obviously, for a few years. But hey, that's about to end. So the PlayStation fanboys will accept all of this stuff because they're going by, they were pretty good last generation. But look, man, every generation is different.
Yeah. Microsoft's rolled its sleeves up and it's going to town now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're right, Griggity, that about the PlayStation fans eating up whatever PlayStation throws at them. I mean, we look at Jim Ryan saying, who plays old games, and then when Xbox announced backwards compatibility in the Xbox One generation, there were PlayStation fans just running with that narrative and going, why would you want backwards compatibility? Now that PlayStation 5 has backwards compatibility, it's suddenly okay because it was announced by PlayStation that it's okay to play old games again. Like, what the... I just can't comprehend. Like, I love Mass Effect so much. I paid for the Legendary Edition to replay it again in better visuals, better frame rate, and actually just have a better experience on it, because those games are really old. Even though I could play them backwards compatible, I just wanted to enjoy it in, I guess, a better experience of it. And I'm one of those naughty people who was like, I'll just pay for it again. But it's like, people will pay for old games, and for Jim Ryan to go, who plays old games, and them to eat it up and go, yeah, we agree, yet they sell constant remasters of older games anyway. Oh, they're just hypocrites. And then the narrative is going to change again moving forward for why PlayStation is so quiet. They're being really quiet because they're holding back all their cards so they can just like slam Xbox when they announce their titles. They're being quiet because they don't have shit to show.
There you go.
And it's why Xbox was a little bit more quiet towards the end of the generation, but then they started coming out swinging when they were talking about the One X. They started announcing those first 5 studio acquisitions, and you could just feel the momentum and the the actual narrative for Xbox changing into this very positive light. And it's been a slow change over the last few years, but now the new generation is here. The positive Xbox news is here, and we as a community can feel it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Feel the change.
And Red, something else where you said, you can just feel it, right? And you just see the confidence in Xbox. They're not the same timid Xbox that was around last generation. It kind of reminds me of, I will give you a personal story right quick of how when you have a backing, when you have people behind you that have your back, you get a little bit more confident. You get a little bit more aggressive. When I first started YouTube, I was just this Xbox guy. I didn't want to ruffle any feathers. I was pro Xbox. I didn't talk too much shit about PlayStation guys or PlayStation fanboys because I knew they would come after me.
Yep.
And eventually when I did start talking about them a little bit, they would come after me. So I really kind of, watched what I said. But now, my channel's growing a little bit, and this is a different Xbox. So there's a lot more Xbox guys out there than it was last generation. Let me say that. Yeah. And these guys are aggressive. So me as an Xbox YouTuber, every time I do a video talking shit about PlayStation guys, and the PlayStation guy would pop up in the comment section, the Xbox community just go after him, right? Just, hey, what are you saying? Blah, blah, blah. And I say, wow. So that builds confidence in me. Like, hey, I can talk shit, and I know the Xbox guys got my back. So that's exactly what Xbox is doing. They're confident. They know what they have planned. They know what's going to happen in the future. And now they have $1 trillion corporation behind them. So yeah, this is definitely a different Xbox. They're not we have some games. Well, I don't want to show games too early. Do you guys remember when Phil Spencer said that?
Yep. We know why he said that.
Because they had nothing in development, right?
Exactly.
They had nothing in development. So if you look at it now, they're showing games 2 or 3, 4 years away because they know, so I just want to say that. I'm sorry about that, guys.
No, you're all good. I mean, the positive here is Xbox was at E3. Xbox is going to be at Gamescom. Xbox is showing up because they're confident, because they know they can show up and show titles, and they can go, here we are. This is a reason to buy a console, or just buy Game Pass, or buy software. Support the developer, because they're supporting the developers now. They actually have the money and support behind them to do that. PlayStation, I'm not trying to be negative to PlayStation. I'm there because I see the, disparity between the two companies and the difference between how one company is treating the consumer versus the next company. And I'm all about justice and all of those sort of things. So when I see the fact that there's inequality around one part of our community versus another part of our community. It annoys the hell out of me that they just put up with it and take it as it is. But they do, and I don't understand why. Like, we didn't put up with it. We spoke out about it. Obviously, we were a bit quiet, and we were sick of being, like, trod on and kind of by the toxic part of the PlayStation community, because they were so cocky and so negative towards us. That whole generation.
And weirdly, they still are. Weirdly, they
And
still think they got the
Yeah,
high
they are.
ground.
They are. Yeah.
I'm not being cocky or trying to be negative to them. I'm trying to say you're not being treated right by the company that you choose to invest in. Ask for better. And then we can just all get on and play our games and just enjoy what we all love doing as a community. Like, I've been playing games since the NES. Like, loved it. The original Zelda games, like, they were amazing. But it's just hard to look at it and see that.
Yeah.
Knowing that that's what position we were in last generation. So to see them in that same position and know what we went through last generation is kind of difficult for me to swallow, because I'm all about fairness and all of that. Yeah, so that's where I come from when I talk about this. Obviously, I do have that slight sour taste in my mouth, and I do aim it at some of those toxic fanboys when I get a bit heated. But that is just because we dealt with it the whole time, and they should learn to deal with it too.
I think that's the problem.
If you can't take what you give out, don't give it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Don't throw stones in glass houses, basically.
Yep.
And I think their house is going to come crumbling down around them. And they won't even realise it either. They didn't realise it. They're still throwing the stones. Why it's all just cracking. It's just madness.
Yep.
Have we got your opinion about Gamescom yet? I don't know, Elite, did we? Because Greg and I were just...
I think we pretty much covered it all now. It's just... I'm just shocked that Sony... Yeah, because I was just saying I was shocked that just Sony really are not making any effort whatsoever. And all the news coming out recently about Sony is sort of negative, and all the news coming out about Xbox is positive. And then you got the Sony fanboys are going mad and just saying nonsense and giving everyone receipts. And on the back of that now, you've got sort of PC gamers jumping on the bandwagon of now making videos joking about PS fanboys, because we've got loads of YouTubers cut now, aren't we? PC YouTubers that are now just making a sort of a living off just doing memes and taking the piss out of PS gamers. It's just hilarious now. Everything's just going against them. Even Nintendo fans are just calling them idiots. Everyone's just pointing at PlayStation fans at the moment and calling them toxic and stupid. And I think it's just really funny. And they just don't realise it. They're thinking everyone else is wrong because they're so high and mighty and been sort of on a pedestal for so long. They can't grasp that there could possibly they can't grasp that there'll be something better out there. They just can't grasp that. They can't get it around their head.
Yeah,
because they can't. They're so blindly loyal to Sony, regardless of what happens, and it's just horribly mad. Even some of them said if Sony start doing what Xbox do, like putting their games on PC day one, and that they'll just quit gaming. What an attitude to have! What a weird loyalty to Sony that you just quit gaming. If Sony, God forbid, want to make more money, that you just quit gaming. What a weird attitude to have. Which is madness.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, when you think about it, it's kind of like when a bully like loses their advantage and like everyone else takes their power back and stands up to the bully, and that's what I feel like their community has been.
Yeah.
I mean, usually PC and Nintendo stay out of things. Obviously, PC, because they're PC master race, have that elitist mentality, but they're actually pretty okay to interact with in general, because I don't know, I just feel like I don't run into what I run into when I'm speaking with them in comparison to a PlayStation toxic fanboy. Like one of my best friends, he's absolutely PC master race, but him and I have good jokes about it. And it's more of a jest and taking the piss or taking the mickey out of each other, rather than actually trolling actually trying to bring each other down.
Lying,
we see the differences. We know that I know he prefers playing PC, but he has an Xbox, so him and I play on Xbox. So it's just I don't get it. They're just weird.
Yeah, it's the lies that just get to me. That they so blatantly lie. just to
Yeah.
for their own delusions. It's just madness. Anyway, I think should we end it there? I think we've sort of talked ourselves to death on these topics.
But yeah, what time is it over your side there,
So what is it
Elite?
now?
Because you've got to go to bed, right?
It's 2 a.m. here now.
Yeah.
Where is it now in New
Oh
Zealand?
wow.
What's the time now in New Zealand?
It's 10 to 1 in the afternoon.
In the afternoon. It's Sunday afternoon. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Griggity, what about yourself? What time is it there?
8:50 p.m.
God, look at that.
Ooh, early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a proper. We're having a proper sort of round the world sort of podcast there. So
Wow.
So I don't think we got to. Did you announce yourself quickly when you come in with your YouTube and your?
Oh yeah.
Twitter?
Yeah. I said, I'm I'm a pro Xbox channel. I do talk a lot of trash about PlayStation.
Yeah.
Especially my podcast. My podcast is not. We literally talk trash a lot. A lot of swearing. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's an entertaining podcast. We're definitely pro Xbox. If you guys want to stop by on my channel,
Definitely do that.
6:30
Follow on Twitter.
Eastern time on Mondays. Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Griggity. So yeah, we pro Xbox. We have a lot of fun. We really do. So thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. A lot of fun.
Yeah,
really
so
did.
I've been watching your channel and stuff, and I've been enjoying your stuff. So I thought we'd get you on board, and it'd be good to have it'd be good to have you on board. We'll sort of get you on a game. It's great.
Oh, absolutely, man. I can't wait. It was fun. Thanks.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining. And I think Red, you got anything more to say?
Elite's a fraud, and that's all I want to say. Because he's only now joining next gen.
Yeah.
And he's been talking about it for like over 6 months.
Yeah,
Oh.
You just cannot get an Xbox Series X in the UK. You just cannot do it. And I've given up.
No.
So I'm just going to get a Slim for now. 2 Slims for now. That'll do. Okay, well, we'll leave it there then. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And goodbye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace out.